Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're cracking open a source that offers a perspective on masculinity, femininity, and what truly electrifies relationships. A perspective that some find incredibly insightful and others maybe a little challenging.
That's right. Our guide for this deep dive is David Deida's book, The Way of the Superior Man, a man's guide to mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire, originally published back in 1997.
Deida introduces some, pretty big ideas about sexual energy, polarity, and how men and women evolve through different stages of intimacy.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to unpack some of his core principles, particularly how they might apply, to navigating the complexities of relationships right now, and what the book suggests about finding deeper fulfillment amidst all the challenges.
And it's crucial to understand up front, as the author himself states, this book is about offering practices and understandings, not specific therapeutic or personal advice. Everyone's journey is unique.
Absolutely. We're strictly exploring the ideas presented in the book, sticking to the text provided.
Right.
Deida writes primarily from the perspective of a heterosexual man with a masculine essence, just for clarity. But he makes it clear that the principles can be adapted and applied, regardless of gender or sexual orientation.
Yeah, with adjustments.
And importantly, the book assumes a foundation of mutual respect and equality between partners. That's kind of the baseline.
So with that context set, let's unpack this.
Okay, so Deida starts by talking about the evolution of sexual identity in relationships. He points to a first stage, which he characterizes by rather fixed, almost stereotypical roles. Think the macho jerk and the submissive housewife. He suggests many people, thankfully, have moved beyond that.
Right, outgrown it. And he then describes what he sees as a second stage, the 50-50 stage.
Okay.
This is where partners strive for equal roles and similarity in pretty much everything: finances, social standing, and yes, even sometimes in the bedroom.
Right, aiming for total equality.
But according to the book, while achieving that equality, this stage often paradoxically leads to sexual neutrality.
Where, as the book puts it, passions are fizzling out.
Yeah.
This really resonates with some of the modern relationship complaints the author touches on. Like, you hear about successful, powerful women feeling their male partners lack drive or seem like wimps.
Or the other side, sensitive men feeling women are overly aggressive or ballbusters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like something vital is missing,
Yeah.
despite all the equality on paper.
Deida's explanation for this is rooted in his concept of sexual polarity. He argues that the spark, the sexual passion, it flows between people like a natural force.
Like magnetism.
Yeah, pretty much like the positive and negative ends of a magnet or the flow of electricity. If the poles become too similar, that dynamic flow diminishes, the energy just flattens out.
So even if you're best friends with your partner, you have intellectual compatibility, you share household duties perfectly 50-50. If that underlying difference in masculine and feminine energy isn't present in intimacy, the sexual charge can just dry up.
Precisely. That's the argument. The book posits that while we all contain both inner masculine and feminine qualities, and we can express either,
Sure.
most people, he estimates, about 90% have a dominant sexual essence, either more masculine or more feminine.
Okay. And the other 10%?
About 10%, yeah, have more balanced essence and may not prioritize polarity in the same way. Their fulfillment might come differently.
And the book's core argument here is that living authentically from your natural sexual essence, whether that's masculine, feminine, or balanced, is fundamental for deep spiritual growth and, sexual fulfillment.
Right. He suggests that suppressing your true essence, maybe to conform or maintain this politically correct sameness in intimacy specifically, that can lead to profound unhappiness, maybe even physical symptoms, and even a loss of life's purpose. It disconnects you from your core.
Okay, so the book is primarily written as a guide for the newly evolving man with a masculine sexual essence, someone who is purposeful and confident, but also seeking sensitivity and spiritual depth.
Exactly. That's the target audience primarily.
So what are some of the foundational principles the book outlines for this man's personal integrity and, growth?
Well, one key principle is always hold to your deepest realization.
Okay.
Deida also phrases this as know your real edge and don't fake it. This means cultivating radical honesty with yourself, especially about your fears and limitations. He gives examples like admitting, I know I could be earning more money, but I'm too lazy. I'm afraid to let go. That kind of internal truth.
Facing it head on.
Yeah. The instruction is to live just slightly beyond the edge of fear and discomfort constantly. It's about facing fears directly without pretending they aren't there, but also without, like, aggressively trying to force yourself through them, finding that edge.
That reminds me of another principle. Live with an open heart, even if it hurts.
Yes, that's a big one.
The book challenges the idea that closing down in the face of pain or challenge is a sign of strength. It seems counterintuitive, maybe.
It does. Instead, it suggests a truly capable man stays present within the wound of pain, acting with skill and love from that place, not shutting down.
How does one do that?
Well, practices like consciously keeping the body open, breathing deeply, maintaining eye contact even when hurt are mentioned as ways to prevent physical tension from hindering this open-hearted action, staying present with the discomfort.
Okay.
Another powerful, perhaps confronting principle for a man's internal freedom is live as if your father were dead.
Whoa. Okay. Explain that.
It isn't literal, obviously. It's symbolic. It's about consciously freeing yourself from your father's expectations, criticisms, or even unspoken limitations.
Ah, the internalized stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which the book suggests can become deeply internalized as self-judgment, holding you back. The idea is to consciously choose activities or ways of being that you might have avoided or felt restricted by due to that paternal influence, allowing you to become a truly free man operating from his own core.
Interesting. And perhaps the most central and potentially counterintuitive principle for the masculine essence man in the book is your purpose must come before your relationship.
Yeah, or even more direct. If you don't know your purpose, discover it now.
Right.
Yes, this is where Deida offers a perspective that really cuts against the grain of, many modern relationship equality models.
Well done.
He argues that for a man with a masculine essence, his deepest, highest purpose or mission is his ultimate priority. His North Star, essentially.
Okay.
If he consistently prioritizes the relationship over this core purpose, the book says he weakens himself. And paradoxically, he cheats his woman, particularly one with a feminine essence of the authentic, directed man she's actually drawn to.
So prioritizing the relationship less actually serves it better in this view.
In a way, yes. His core feels empty if he betrays his purpose, and that lack of grounded presence impacts everything, including intimacy.
So it's not about neglecting the relationship or being selfish.
No, not at all. It's about understanding the fundamental drive. The book frames the masculine drive as a search for freedom, often expressed through mission, challenges, competition. Right. While the feminine drive is primarily a search for love, often expressed through intimacy and connection. Different core motivations.
Okay.
Exactly. The core idea is that when a masculine essence man is fully aligned with his mission, he is, as the book puts it, already full. He gives from that fullness, not seeking to get filled by the relationship. The book explicitly warns, don't use your family as an excuse for not pursuing your deepest purpose. It emphasizes that it's the quality of your presence and direction, fueled by your purpose, that matters most, maybe even more than the sheer quantity of time spent together.
That's a challenging perspective.
It is. And linked to that, the book also warns men, don't get lost in tasks and duties.
Becoming a robot of duty.
Exactly. Focused entirely on the practical surface of life, paying bills, fixing things, checking boxes, while neglecting the deeper, maybe transcendental element or their true purpose.
So the tasks should serve the purpose, not become it.
Precisely. The book advises that tasks should be vehicles supporting the path to freedom and purpose, not become the path itself. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Okay. Now, let's shift gears and look at how the book advises men to relate to women, particularly women who primarily identify with their feminine essence.
Right. And some points here might definitely require careful interpretation, especially in a modern context.
Yeah, I can see that. One key idea is women are not liars, but is followed immediately by principles like her complaint is content-free, or what she wants is not what she says. That sounds tricky.
It sounds contradictory at first glance, right? The book clarifies. It argues that for the feminine, truth is experienced and expressed more like the flow of feelings in the moment.
Like poetry or weather.
Exactly. Think of it like poetry or the ever-changing weather, rather than a fixed literal statement of fact or future intent, which is typically the masculine mode of communication.
So when a woman says, I hate you, in the heat of an argument,
the book suggests it's often the expression of a transient feeling wave, not a literal permanent truth or a concrete agenda for action. It's expressing the energy of that moment.
Okay. So it's about understanding the language of feminine energy as being more fluid and emotionally expressive than strictly literal or logical.
Precisely. Like listening to the ocean or the wind. The sounds aren't necessarily facts, but they convey the dynamic motion of her feeling energy.
So how should one listen then?
The book advises listening to her in this way, understanding that her words are reflections of her current feelings and state of being. It specifically warns men against basing their plans or decisions solely on what a woman says unless love is flowing deeply between them.
And even then,
the book cautions that you should expect her feelings, and therefore her expressions, to change, potentially moment by moment. This isn't framed as deception, it's presented as the intrinsic nature of feminine truth as flow.
that connects directly to the principle, never change your mind just to please a woman.
Yes, this is crucial for the man's integrity, according to the book. It strongly advises a man against betraying his own deepest knowledge, intuition, or direction simply to placate his woman, calm a storm, or avoid conflict.
So listen, but don't bend your core truth.
Exactly. While he absolutely should listen to her input, understand her feelings, and value her perspective, he must ultimately make decisions from his own core, from his deepest knowing.
Why is that so important in this model?
The book argues that denying his inner truth in this way weakens him, and perhaps more importantly, erodes her trust in his leadership and groundedness. She can feel the compromise. If he acts from his truth and is wrong, he learns. If he gives in against his inner knowing, he will likely feel resentful and disempowered, and the relationship suffers.
Okay. The book also touches on what a woman with a feminine essence supposedly wants, saying things like, she doesn't really want to be number one.
Right.
And she wants to relax in the demonstration of your direction. That seems to contradict the idea of women wanting to be prioritized.
It does seem that way on the surface. But the book argues that despite sometimes appearing to demand to be the man's absolute top priority, a woman with a feminine essence ultimately trusts and loves him more deeply if his highest purpose is his genuine priority.
Why?
Because his unwavering dedication to something larger than just the relationship allows her to feel his strength, his groundedness, and trust his unshakability in the face of life's challenges.
Does she feel safer?
In a sense, yes. The book uses the analogy that she wants to relax in his direction, much like a ship trusts the man who is navigating the vast, often unpredictable ocean of her own energy and feelings. His purpose provides the rudder.
So it's less about her needing him to be subservient and more about needing his clear masculine gift of direction and decisiveness, even in smaller things.
Precisely. The book encourages men to offer their perspective and make decisions. It even says that the phrase, do whatever you want from a man, is the statement of a friend, not a lover.
Interesting.
Implying that offering masculine direction, however minor, helps maintain that vital polarity.
And how does the book suggest a man handle a woman's intense emotions, her storm, or her challenges to him? Because that definitely happens.
Oh, yeah. This is where the principle, stay with her intensity to a point, comes in.
Okay, to a point.
Right. The book contrasts how a mediocre man, as it calls him, might react by trying to calm her down, fix her problem, or even withdraw and leave, seeing her intensity as threatening or just too much.
Which feels like a common reaction.
It does. But a superior man, according to Deida, is encouraged to penetrate her mood, her storm, with imperturbable love and unwavering consciousness.
Penetrate her mood. How?
By staying present, staying loving, not getting thrown off balance himself. He's urged to learn to enjoy her anger, her tears, her silent hardness, seeing it not just as her stuff, but as a reflection of the world's challenges he will also face.
So her challenges are practice.
The book frames her intensity and challenges as tests, yes, ultimately trying to bring him to his full capacity as a man who remains loving, present, and unperturbed by emotional storms. She's testing his depth, his solidity.
There's also a surprisingly practical point about praise her. Seems simple, but maybe not.
Right. The book offers a key insight here into how different energies grow. It contrasts how masculine energy often thrives and grows through challenge, through boot camp, competitive sports, professional obstacles.
Sure, overcoming things.
Whereas feminine energy grows primarily through praise, appreciation, and support.
Okay.
The book suggests men often instinctively try to challenge their women, maybe critically, hoping they'll improve.
Yeah, like a coach might do with an athlete.
Exactly. But for feminine qualities, the book argues, praise is exponentially more effective. It nourishes her radiance.
So what's the advice?
The advice is to praise specific qualities multiple times a day, even if they aren't fully developed yet. You praise the tiny quality that you want to grow, rather than pointing out where she's falling short, which just feels like rejection and criticism to the feminine essence.
That makes sense. Positive reinforcement.
Pretty much. Now, moving deeper into the energetic dynamics, the book talks about attraction itself through this lens of masculine and feminine energy.
Yes, the idea that your attraction to the feminine is inevitable for a man with a masculine essence.
Right. And this isn't presented as just sexual attraction to women, but a broader pull towards any expression of feminine energy.
Like what?
Radiant women, yes, but also music, the beauty of nature, or even, as the book humorously includes, a cold beer after a hard day's work. Anything that offers that sense of flowing life, beauty, or pleasurable release.
So it's a fundamental desire.
The book frames this desire not just sexually, but as an aspect of the man's fundamental desire for pleasurable oneness, to merge with and embrace the fullness of life itself. It's presented as an essential gesture of his heart, a yearning for love and unity, not just sex.
Okay, and this is connected to why the book advises a masculine man to choose a woman who is your complementary opposite.
For the majority of couples with dominant masculine and feminine essences, the book suggests about 80% yes. That's the idea for maximizing polarity.
So the more masculine, the more feminine partner is the ideal match.
Generally, yes, according to this model. The idea is that the more anchored a man is in his masculine essence, the more naturally attracted he will be to and complemented by a woman who is primarily grounded in her feminine essence. They complete each other energetically.
So knowing yourself helps you choose.
Right. The book suggests knowing your own essence helps you choose a partner who is your sexual reciprocal. And it emphasizes the importance of accepting their whole storm, embracing their complete feminine power, both the light and the potentially challenging dark aspects. Don't just pick the easy parts.
There's a section on young women offer you a special energy, which, out of context could sound problematic today.
Absolutely. It's important to understand the context the book provides. It explains this purely from an energetic perspective.
Okay.
Arguing that youth often naturally manifests as radiant, unobstructed, and refreshing feminine energy that a masculine essence man can find particularly rejuvenative on an energetic level.
Does it say older women don't have this?
No, it notes that older women can and often do maintain or deepen their radiance, but suggests it's presented as rarer in cultures where women take on more masculine roles and potentially suppress their energetic flow over time.
So what's the practical takeaway then?
The book's advice here is explicitly not about pursuing young women sexually. It's about learning to appreciate uncompromised radiance and life force in its many forms in nature, art, people of all ages, and channeling that appreciation non-sexually into service or creativity. It's about appreciating the energy itself.
Got it. The book also describes a woman's temperature, whether her energy is more heating or cooling. That's another subtle distinction.
Yes. This is presented as another energetic difference that affects attraction and compatibility at a subtle level. Some women are described as having inherently cooling, calming energy, others more heating, stimulating energy.
And this matters because
the book suggests a man's need for different temperatures can actually change based on his life circumstances. Maybe he needs a cooler, calming energy when his professional life is intense or hot, or vice versa.
So your needs can fluctuate.
Right. And it explicitly warns against mistaking a temporary shift in desired energetic temperature for a fundamental incompatibility or a reason to end a relationship. It suggests ways to balance one's own energy needs through diet or other practices instead of projecting it all onto the partner.
Okay, so how does the book tie all these energetic dynamics into the unique responsibilities and gifts men and women offer each other in an intimate relationship for growth and fulfillment? This seems key.
It is, and it's summarized quite starkly with the principle, you are responsible for the growth in intimacy.
You, meaning the man.
Primarily, yes, in this framework focusing on the masculine essence man. The book proposes a primary asymmetry here.
Which is?
The man is framed as primarily responsible for the woman's depth of love or openness of mood, and the woman is framed as primarily responsible for the man's erection or energy in the body.
Okay, unpack that. So the man's primary gift and responsibility is providing that clear direction and guiding the relationship towards greater consciousness and love.
Yes, guiding her through moods, aligning life with purpose.
And the woman's is providing the energy, the vitality, maybe the testing presence that calls him forth.
Exactly. That's the core dynamic presented. The man's role is guiding her through her emotional fluctuations back into the openness of loving and aligning their shared lives with what the book calls the highest truth, the divine way or the highway.
And if he doesn't provide that?
If the man is failing to provide this grounded masculine direction, the book argues the woman, particularly one with a feminine essence, will often feel compelled to take on that role herself. She'll wield the masculine blade, so to speak.
Which sounds like taking charge, maybe what some people want.
But the book suggests that this often leads to resentment and depolarization, especially if it's against her core nature. It becomes a common source of conflict. She doesn't want to wear the pants, essentially, but feels she has to.
Right. This ties directly back into she needs your consciousness to match her energy.
Correct. When she brings her intense energy, her challenges, her storm, the book suggests she is unconsciously seeking and needing the man's conscious, unwavering presence, his imperturbable love.
She needs him to be the calm eye of the storm.
Kind of, yeah. Her tests aren't malicious games in this view, but rather they reveal his weaknesses or mediocrity, the places where he falters, gets pulled off course, shuts down, or gives up.
So she's trying to make him stronger.
She is, in essence, trying to evoke his full capacity to remain loving and conscious, even in the face of intensity, bringing him to his full strength so she can relax into it, trust it.
The book also includes practical body practices aimed at cultivating this presence and energy. Are any particularly relevant to these relationship dynamics in creating that deeper connection?
Yes, absolutely. There's a key section on ejaculation should be converted or consciously chosen.
Okay, that sounds very specific and maybe purely physical. How does it connect to trust and presence?
Well, Deida argues that for a man with a masculine essence, a lack of conscious control over ejaculation, just kind of letting it happen reactively, creates at a subtle level ongoing distrust in his woman.
How so?
She feels, perhaps unconsciously, that she can deplete him, weaken him, empty him of life force, just as the external world can wear him down. If he ejaculates easily, the book suggests she knows on some level she has one and can control him sexually, which might mirror his potential lack of grounded control or staying power in other areas of his life.
So his inability to consciously control his sexual energy, what the book calls an addiction to cycles of release, reflects a larger inability to maintain fullness and presence, not just sexually, but maybe in his purpose and interactions too.
Precisely. That's the connection the book makes. This pattern is linked to stopping short of full dissolution into his deepest source, preventing his true, uncompromised gifts from emerging fully.
So what are the practices?
It describes practices like breathing down the front of the body, which helps counter tension and increases physical presence, and learning to channel sexual energy up the spine during sex.
Channeling it where?
Towards a whole body energetic experience or circulation, rather than a potentially depleting genital ejaculation. The aim is conscious control.
And the benefit of this control.
This conscious control and ability to penetrate and, as the book puts it, ravish with sustained presence, is presented as a key aspect of a man's trustworthiness and his capacity for fullest communion, both in intimacy and with life itself. Making love becomes rejuvenative, not depleting.
Okay. So the book details practices like feeling into and through the partner, using specific breath work down the front for grounding, up the spine for energetic conversion, and consciously contracting the pelvic floor, all in service of cultivating this deeper presence and energetic mastery.
Right. It's about mastering his own energy flow to better serve himself, his partner, and his purpose.
So, tying this all together, the underlying argument woven throughout the book is that by embracing these principles for men, living authentically from their masculine essence, prioritizing purpose, cultivating integrity and conscious presence, and understanding the dynamic nature of feminine energy, they unlock the potential for deeper personal and relational fulfillment.
Exactly. That's the path laid out for the superior man.
And for women with a feminine essence, the path to fulfillment involves embracing their natural radiance, their energetic flow, and their desire for love, while being able to trust and surrender into the conscious direction offered by a man truly aligned with his purpose.
Yes, that's the reciprocal dynamic the book describes. It argues that when both partners consciously honor their primary asymmetry, their masculine and feminine polarity, and commit to expressing their respective core desires and gifts,
then what happens?
Then the intimacy doesn't just survive, it constantly grows. It fosters deeper presence, love, passion, and, yes, even humor. It becomes a path for growth for both.
And if they don't honor this polarity?
If they don't, the book suggests the relationship can settle into being a functional but mediocre partnership, or a well-meaning partnership of domestic duty, missing that vital spark and the opportunity for profound growth that polarity offers.
So it offers a distinct lens for navigating modern relationship challenges. suggesting that fulfillment comes not from erasing differences, but from consciously maximizing the difference, the polarity, grounded in respect.
Exactly. It's about magnifying the masculine and feminine energies, not neutralizing them into sameness.
Wow, that was quite a deep dive into the way of the superior man. It certainly offers a powerful and, in many ways, challenging set of ideas about masculinity, femininity, and the dynamics that fuel or diminish passion and fulfillment in relationships.
It definitely presents a model that places purpose and conscious presence at the forefront for men and emphasizes the full expression of energetic flow and radiance for women.
Yep.
Suggesting that understanding and consciously embracing these differences rather than striving for uniformity is the key to vital intimacy and ongoing personal growth. It's a different way of looking at things.
It leads us with some provocative thoughts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If, as the book suggests, a woman's deepest longing is for you, the man, to fully live your highest truth and purpose, are you willing to look honestly at where you might be compromising that, even if it feels like you're doing it for the relationship?
And conversely, if you resonate more with the feminine essence described, are you truly allowing yourself to surrender into your radiant flow and trust conscious masculine direction when it's offered with integrity? Or are you instinctively guarding your heart, maybe taking on roles that ultimately deplete your core energy?
Big questions to sit with. Really big questions. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this exploration of David Deida's work gives you some valuable insights to consider on your own path.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Lots to think about.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive.